What that didn't do in the 67 referendum was to place Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in the Constitution, and that's why we need that recognition under the current reform.
I think it's high time that First Peoples of this country are properly recognised. That can only be, the Constitution as the document that governs this country has to really be the starting point.
I think that until we have the leadership of the nation initiating and leading these changes, that says a lot to the rest of Australia, that people have to, we have to all move forward together.
And of course for us, as Indigenous people, to be recognised, and as a stolen generations person myself, having lost your identity, your culture, your language, your connection to land, your spiritual pathway, to be able to have that recognised really assists in the healing and assists in being valued as a human being and as an Australian person. And it honours our ancestors as well.
Just having that recognition in the Constitution is also about self-esteem and a recognition as a people and a recognition of the history of Aboriginal people in this country.
And I think hand in hand with that, of course, is educating our children. And it's not just about closing the gap for Indigenous children, it's also about raising awareness and removing the ignorance that exists.
So recognition's a big part of it, but it's really, the guts of it really is about how that recognition will determine the kind of relationships and the strength of those relationships, the basis for those relationships into the future.
We're building on some of the struggles that have occurred in the past, but certainly moving forward, even though there's a long way to go.
You know in your heart it's got to happen, it just has to happen if we're going to move forward together and really change things. I heard a speech once that by Professor Ian Ring, and he once said, if we closed our eyes and just imagined for a moment that everyone was the same, and then opened them again and looked around at the situation for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, would we think that this is acceptable? And the fact is it's not, and that's part of what constitutional change does. It brings Aboriginal people into the nation and recognises them formally for the first time, and I think if we do that, people will look around and say, this needs to change, this needs to improve.